Hey guys, Zomfox here, and today it is time for the final week review of the 2025 UFL season, and that is the championship game review. This championship game was, the game itself, a weird one. It was a fun one, but it, it was wild. Now, the attendance TV ratings weren't great, we'll get to that later. Let's get right into it with the actual game itself. 58-34, the Defenders become your new UFL champions. This is a wild game. We were just shy of hitting 100 total points scored. We actually could have if a couple of things went a bit better. DC could have put a 60 bomb, then went for two and got it. It was insane. DC's second quarter was just insane. I mean, they put up 31 points in one quarter alone. Fourth quarter, right, heading into it, it looked like it was just a total done deal. DC was cruising with a victory, and then Michigan scored, went for the 4th and 12, got it, scored again, went for the 4th and 12 again, and you're like, no way they're actually going to pull it off. They didn't. They did get some hope in that fourth quarter. DC did score at the very, very end of the game in a bit. So final score really was, a bit more lopsided than the ending was. But overall, DC did have this one pretty much in the bag. Jordan Ta'amu gave us the greatest performance a quarterback has ever done in this era of spring football. Even though his regular season was definitely overrated, as some people still believe he should have won MVP, which, no. His championship game performance was a thing of beauty. The biggest issues he had during the regular season of being inconsistent with deep passes, he did not have that problem in the championship game. He had great throw after great throw after great throw that were just pure dots to his receivers downfield, which resulted in a 75 completion percentage performance where he had 4 TDs and only 7 incompletions for 390 yards. Almost a perfect passer rating game. Only reason he didn't, I believe, is the completion percentage, but it was insane. Hell, Bryce Perkins still gave you a great game for the Panthers. That's the thing a lot of people were saying, is that the Panthers offense overall did enough to win this game. It was the defense that let them down. 21-35 might not be insane, but for 338 yards and 4 TDs to 1 interception, that's still a damn good game that usually gets the job done. Overall, though, DC's offense just was insane. The injuries to the Panthers' defense, especially in that back end, ended up being too costly. DC won. Over 1,000 total yards were put up in this game, which is just insane. Congrats to DC on becoming champions. Now, the attendance. At the end of the day, I can't say I'm shocked. It tanked from last year, but remember, this is announced attendance, not in-person attendance. Last year's announced attendance was 27,000. This year is 14,500. Why is that not shocking? What happened last year is it was the first time it was in St. Louis. All the St. Louis fans bought all their tickets there. St. Louis got bounced in the first round, and then they tried to resell them, right? We all remember that, pink wave of death that came after that UFL Championship game last year, where you had just so many resale tickets show up, and then in the end, less than 15,000 people showed up. This time, you had a 14,500 announced number, and less than 10K showed up. It looked even worse on TV than last year. So it was a really poor attended game. Again, it's not shocking that it was. I think that this is proof that the UFL needs to change the location every year or just stick in Canton. The fact is, St. Louis is not a big enough draw of a city to justify people going there year in and year out. Canton is. Despite people say a neutral site stadium can work, the USL proved it worked. Even in 2023 when they had less attendance, and I mean severely less than 2022, the stadium was still relatively packed. In fact, it was packed outside of the 200 section in the home side, which again, in a TV viewership is a big point. Let's say you put the 9K that were in attendance, which might be actually having too much people there. If you put the 9K people that actually showed up in St. Louis this year, put them in Canton, it looks a lot better in Canton. You get 50% stadium capacity, you move everybody down to the 100s, it looks like almost a full house. Whereas in the Dome, it doesn't look that good. And the thing is, a lot of people are saying that this is proof the league needs to have it be where one of the two home teams are, one of the two teams in the championship game. They're not going to do it. I think people are saying that just don't understand. Their opinion is very skewed because they don't understand how sports works, right? The UFL just proved again that they can't even book for their conference championship games. They're not going to get 8 locations for the championship game. And hell, technically 4 is the minimum they need, either 4 USFL, 4 XFL teams. They ain't going to do that either. What they should do is they should make it either A, change location every year and cycle to every stadium. Yes, I know that's including Houston, Memphis. Have it cycle every year. Or if they're going to stick in one place, stay in Canton. Because at least in Canton, you're at a smaller stadium. You have the Pro Football Hall of Fame. You have things to do. St. Louis, once you've been there once, you don't really have to go there again. And I think this was finally proof of that. The people in St. Louis didn't bother going because the team didn't make it. There were some fans who, diehard fans went there and, blessed their hearts. But overall, people in St. Louis aren't going for this one. If you're, let's say, from Detroit, you're from DC, hell, you're a fan of one of the other teams. Are you really wanting to justify making a huge trip to St. Louis for a game? Not really. Now, if it's in San Antonio, you've never been to San Antonio, you can somewhat justify that. Birmingham might not be the biggest tourist destination, but it's still a city that is a big city that you may never have been to. You can justify it. So you just can't keep it in St. Louis again. Having it in St. Louis again next year is going to just cause a lot of issues, and you are then banking on St. Louis making it. So this should be the final kind of nail in the coffin the league needs to see to be like, hey, we can't keep going to St. Louis. It's just not a good idea. Because despite what people try to say, a true neutral site field is better. Because that means that people that buy tickets to it are more likely to go no matter what. If you buy tickets for a place that you have to make a vacation to go to it, you're more likely to go even if your team doesn't make it because you already committed to it. Whereas, again, if you're in St. Louis and you live in St. Louis, if your team doesn't make it, okay, so what? It's not like, I have to cancel a plane flight. And so because of that, they need to move it back to Canton, or they need to change it to a new stadium. Again, Audi Field, Protective Stadium, hell, even the Liberty Bowl, literally just any other place but St. Louis. Again, I know some people suggested potential expansion markets, right? New Orleans, their TV ratings once again were the second best in the league, proving that if any team's going to be brought back, number one, it's the Breakers, number two, Seattle, just because their TV ratings are still insanely good. So why not play a game in, like a Yeoman Stadium? See what the attendance is for that. Again, it's going to be better than St. Louis. So attendance, really disappointing, a really poor number, but a poor number that was fully expected. It's rough, not shocked. TV ratings, 983,000. Really disappointing number. Now, some people are taking away the wrong thing from this game. Now, I'll have a full opinion video coming out later about the season start date. The fact is, this game did poorly a lot because of poor scheduling from the league. They wanted to have it be this prime time finish, right? Which is a great idea in theory. But what you ended up doing is going head-to-head with the NHL Stanley Cup Final. Yes, the Stanley Cup Final was on, cable TV on TNT, but you're still going head-to-head against it. I know the Men's College World Series is also going on and other things. And that's where you go back to last year. Last year's championship game was during the day. It was like a 3 p.m. local time, I believe, may have been 4. Or it was earlier. I don't remember off the top of my head, but it was much earlier than this. So instead of having it be in that earlier time slot where you're really not going against anything or only going against one thing, you put it on when you're going against a ton of different things at the same time. That's not a good idea. And yes, I get it, ABC, your big network, but we saw last week's XFL Championship or USL Championship game matched the XFL Championship game from the year prior, which were both on ABC. Sometimes it's just about scheduling. It's not about when the game is played in, is it June or May? It's about just putting it at the right time. This was not the right time to put it at 8 p.m. going head-to-head against multiple big events. It should have been earlier. I've mentioned this before. I think it honestly might have helped attendance also. As I said, I think it's some people probably justified not going because of the fact that it was at night, meaning you were forced to get a hotel, which is, kind of the opposite of what normally is. Point is, TV rating wasn't great. This game needed to be a bare minimum of 1.2 for me to even view it as decent. The fact that it couldn't even hit 1 million, yes, I know it averages to 1 million, but the fact that it didn't actually average 1 million is rough. The fact that the peak was only 1.2, really disappointing. It was a very fun game, and it was even trending during the night. So to see it not do as well as it, we hoped or expected, really sucks. Overall, TV ratings definitely disappointing. Hopefully this means that next year they either put it at a time slot where they know they don't have competition from the finals. It's hard to find out, but you should be able to. So either put it on a day where there is none. Again, I know Father's Day isn't, the greatest thing in the world in competition, but you could have put it on Father's Day, right? I mean, hell, the U.S. Open was fine having a tournament be on Father's Day, so you could have put it Father's Day night. Yes, it's a holiday, but guess what? You don't have an NBA Finals game. You don't have a Stanley Cup Final game. Instead, you put it on Saturday night, head-to-head against a bunch of big events, and it didn't work out. But overall, that'll do it. This has been Zom Fox, and this was the final weekly video for the UFL season, right? We're not doing a game picks video, even though I went 0-3 in that one. We're not putting that one out, obviously, because it's just going over the basics. But as mentioned before, I'm still going to be uploading anywhere from 2 to 3 videos a week during the off-season, so make sure you're subscribed with the bell turned on. Again, upcoming videos, I don't know exactly when each of them coming out aside from this week. This week, Friday Night Football tier list video is coming out on Friday. And then over the next couple weeks, I'll have my playoff games tier list. I'll have an opinion video on where I think the start date for the UFL season should be. And I'll probably have some other videos, being made coming out in the next couple of weeks. Top 10 players. Of course, that's a yearly video I do that comes out at some point. We're starting to see players go to the NFL. So a lot of things going on. And as always, guys, have a great night.